Alright, Three of Wands. So, in the Three of Wands, the man is standing looking out onto the horizon. There are ships in the sea, and he is surrounded by three wands. Now, this card, every time I look at it, it always kind of makes me think of a story in order to explain it. So, when I move into the card, and if I pretend like I'm this guy standing in the card, and I feel what I feel and I notice what I notice, he feels to me like he's some sort of merchant, and he has a business that is quite established at the moment. And it was his passion project, it's what he loves, it's what he's been doing for a long time, and he's very, very good at it. And I feel like this person has lots of resources. They have lots of credibility, they have a good track record. They've been doing what they've been doing for a long time, and they're very much known for what they do. This person feels to me like he's possibly thinking of expanding, of doing more and going to the next level. Whereas the Two of Wands that we just looked at was more about, I've just gotten over my beginning stages and now I'm trying to think about, you know, the next larger stage. The Three of Wands has already been there and done that. He's like very mature as far as, you know, where he is with his creativity and receiving from his creativity and allowing the things inside of him to pour forth and following his gut, following his intuition, following what he thought he should do to, in this case of my story, build his business and create it and make it successful in a way that supports him and nourishes him. And now this figure is like looking off onto the boat. So he's thinking of other probabilities. It could be expansion, it could be overseas expansion, or it could just be, it's like instead of having his small merchant business in the harbor, now maybe he has a business in that harbor and a business in that harbor, something to the nature of that. So it's like the next level of the vision, of the creativity of the goal. Now, obviously, this does not always have to do with a business. It's just that that is the story that always kind of comes to my mind when I look at this card that helps me remember the sort of energy that this card is conveying. So this sort of person has been very prudent with his decisions in the past. He has held the vision, he has stayed true to the vision, and he has continued to take his steps on the path that were in alignment with the vision, and he's really built something now. And he's at a place where he has plenty of resources and so forth, so he can really expand to the next level if he wants to. And the other thing that I feel about the figure in this card is that he is very good at, you know, doing the day-to-day activities while also keeping in mind the vision, right? So he can do both. He's not just focused on one thing, the minutia of the day-to-day, and he's not only daydreaming in the clouds about what could be, he's actually able to simultaneously hold the vision while doing the day-to-day mundane thing at the exact same time. Okay? So the Three of Gabriel shows a woman by a harbor with the seas with the ships in the background. The Three of Fire is a woman and a dragon sitting looking out into a valley. Right? Make long-term plans, have patience. Oh, I forgot about that. That is another thing that this card makes me feel. It makes me feel like it's like this person has had a lot of patience and they have been rewarded for their patience. That's how they have built something so magnificent. And this is the Three of Spring from the Fairy Tarot. And it says, plan your next steps with an eye onto the long term. Have patience. There are more good things to come. Satisfaction from a job well done. Okay. All right, so let's move into the opposite of the Three of Wands. And let's feel what we feel and notice what we notice. The feeling that I feel from this card is, all right, let's go with our merchant story that I was talking about earlier. It feels like this person in this card didn't have a lot of foresight. So he made choices that were like short-term choices. Instead of like following his intuition and believing in the long-term vision he saw in his head, he made impulsive actions and impulsive decisions to do things that maybe went against what his gut was telling him to do, right? So he was impulsive, he was reactive, he was ignoring his vision, right? No foresight, and just kind of like reacting in the moment and only seeing that and like kind of discarding the vision somewhat and not believing in it all the way. So that has led him to make some very imprudent choices, and that has led him to maybe have some difficulty as a result of those choices. So maybe his gut was telling him he should expand his merchant store, but he didn't do that because he was afraid. Instead, when he got a chunk of money, he then used it for something else, and like that money's gone now, and he doesn't have the expansion, right? Like his higher self is telling him, hey, you should expand your little merchant store here, but in his lack of, just keep wanting to use the word foresight, in his lack of foresight and acknowledging what intuitively came to him, he then instead spent the money in some other way that kind of like he lost the money or he didn't really get a return on it, and that wasn't what was divine for him to spend the money on. And so now he like still has the same store, but it's not expanded, right? So now, you know, there's some opportunity he needs to capitalize on, but he can't really do it because he doesn't have the space, right? Because he didn't do what he felt divinely that he should do. So when this card is up, to me, this person has followed their intuition, did what they felt in their core they should have done, regardless of what everybody else said, right? They followed what was true to them, and they took steps every single day, daily guided steps, while holding the vision and having a commitment to the vision, and they have achieved what they had set out to. This person with the card upside down did not do that, right? They made impulsive decisions, didn't follow their gut, did things that weren't soul aligned, did things that the ego thought they should do, and basically didn't follow alignment. And now things are not as good as they could be. And this person, I almost feel like maybe has a little regret. Like they look back and they're like, yeah, I was being immature, I was being impulsive, like I made those decisions. I shouldn't have done that, because now I'm not in a good position, right? Now I'm in the position where I'm kind of like, what was I thinking? You know what I mean? So this sort of upside down card could, I mean, this person might be feeling a lot of doubt around their capability and around their ability to create. But it's not so much that they can't create, it's that they didn't really listen to their inner voice. That was the problem, not the fact that they didn't have the ability to create this sort of life. They did. They just kind of messed up. So it can almost create this sort of like feeling in the body of like, man, should I have even done this? Why did I even do this? Right? And you start to like, it's like questioning and not trusting of the self. But the questioning and the not trusting of the self was the whole thing that created the situation in the first place, right? Whereas this figure trusted themselves and trusted their ideas, trusted their soul nudgings, trusted what felt right to them, and did not take into what everybody else thought about the situation. All right, so this upside down card also signify not being able to capitalize on new opportunities, not being able to move forward and expand, and feeling sort of stuck because they didn't make the right choices, they didn't choose the right things in the past, and so therefore now they're like, oh man, I was so dumb. Why did I do that? Right? It's that sort of energy. Whereas this person has plenty of resources, plenty of prosperity, and can easily capitalize on a new opportunity because they're flush with cash. They're flush with knowledge. They're flush with employees. They're flush with whatever it is that, you know, the reading is telling about. I just really like using the story of the merchant because I feel like it's a really good way to explain the energy of the card. So as long as you can recall that energy of the card, you can kind of explain to the person you're giving a reading to, or if you know the readings for yourself, you can move into that story about the merchant and then think like, okay, well, how does that apply to the situation? Because it might not have anything to do with the business. I just feel like the little story gives a good sort of overview of the energy of the card. Okay? All right, so let's move into the Four of Wands.